Happy Thursday, folks. How's everybody doing today?
Existentially, I think I'm good, you know? How about you, Brandon?
Doing all right. Spent some time this week on home repairs, so a long overdue storm door replacement finally got put in.
Oh, that's fun. We finished at our home, we finished like a little bit of a landscaping project because we had some like drainage issues in our backyard. And so they put in a new what do they call it?
French
Dry
drain?
well? Dry well.
Drywall. Okay.
Yeah. And and then so I got a new patio as a result of that. So I'm pretty chuffed about that.
Well, congrats on the new patio.
Thanks.
All right, we've got a pretty light schedule today, and it looks like I'm seeing some new faces. So if anybody has topics that you'd like to add to our agenda, feel free to chime in, drop them in the notes, drop them in the meeting minutes, wherever you want to drop them, we'll figure it out. Um, because otherwise it might end up being a quick meeting.
One question is just looking as we're heading into kind of summer season. There's some days that we tend to see like turnout be pretty low. Um, July 2nd, like some of those times around the holiday. I don't know if there's some days we want to, Brandon, preemptively plan to cancel meetings just because we're not likely to have people.
See, with the second, I think we're celebrating on the third. Usually the days we end up taking off is like Christmas and Thanksgiving, just because those tend to, and New Year's, especially if those are falling anywhere near Thursday or just in general those weeks, we tend to take those off. I suspect we're going to be slow just because holidays or summer in general.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like the community. If people are, if lots of people are maybe taking off or pushing it to the actual July 4th, whatever. I just pose the
Yeah.
question just in case.
And I will look to the community here. Folks are saying they want to take off the second time. More than happy to do that.
Tianan's not here, but I'm sure he would request more meetings.
That I know for sure. In fact, Tiernan wasn't here last week either, so I hope he's doing all right. See, May 28th. Speak of, you say his name three times and he shows up. Welcome back, Tiernan.
Hello.
You doing all right these days?
I'm alive, and today that's enough.
Oh, buddy.
All right. Well, I think we got more than enough people here. Happy to hear you're alive. Got enough people here that we can at least kick this thing off. Trying to keep track of all who has shown up here. Keep those in the minutes. Um, yeah, same thing I've been pitching a whole bunch of times. Derek, you already did this. Mike completely abandoned his job of hitting approve on this thing. So we're still sitting out there waiting for another maintainer on the conformist test redesign. Maybe we just need to get another distribution spec maintainer. That might be another option.
We should do that.
I'm
I
more
nominate
open to
Ian.
that. Jeff just volunteered. we can
I
add two.
Oh,
I would love to nominate Jeff or Tianan or any of those folks. Make it a Docker takeover.
I keep trying to beg John to show up to these calls, but he's just not doing it.
I Everybody I know over on the chain guard side has just been non-responsive for, I wouldn't say non-responsive because I haven't been reaching out too much to them, but they just kind of all disappeared off into a black hole.
Oh, is John at Chain Guard now?
John was at Chain Guard. John is no longer at Chain Guard.
Oh, did he run off?
Yep.
Oh, well, I
Jason
hope he's
ran
doing
off
well.
too.
No
Jason
wonder I
got
never hear
that
from him.
cursor just in time for their acquisition.
Maybe he made some good money in that process there.
I mean, he
Well,
just
there's
joined,
this.
so he's probably got a vesting schedule.
These AI companies are scooping everybody up and they disappear.
Maybe they'll reappear one day. Some nice fancy watches, gold leaf monocle.
Disappearing for a few months. Get that AI money.
Uh, if they can get it, more power to them. So the only other thing other than the conformance test redesign I put in the queue, and we can chat about this if anybody wants to chat about it. Slow me down if I'm going too quick. But the other one I put out there was over on the TOB side, just a copyright notice guidelines for us to maintain as TOB members. And it just says, our projects are all under LF. Here's the LF guidelines, which we have applied this string as our string we're going to use everywhere. Copyright the Open Container Initiative contributors. Kind of getting a little tongue-tied on that one. And then, of course, if anybody else needs to add their copyright header to it for whatever appropriate reason, add those, especially if it's coming from upstream. If it's somebody just contribute a whole bunch of stuff, leave that up as a decision for the maintainers to make. And then here's the full header that should be on all the different software files. So put that there, and then I put a link to the new guidelines section. This folder is new. We didn't have a guidelines folder before in the TOB. But the reason I kind of went that direction is because in the TOB README, it says, hey, we're responsible for managing conflicts, violations of procedures or guidelines, and any cross-project yada, yada, yada. It's like, guidelines. That looks like a good word to use. Let's go ahead and make those. We've got proposals. We've got procedures we're maintaining. Let's do some guidelines. So I threw that out there. Feel free to comment, chime in, yay, nay, whatever makes sense. But just kind of my attempt to get a little bit of conformity amongst all the different projects because we've got these headers that are getting a little bit scattered with different ways we're phrasing it all over the place. And that was it. That's my entire agenda today. So, like I say, if people have stuff you want to discuss today, looks like we got a good sized group here. Throw some items on the agenda. Let's chat.
I still need to update the tag history thing, but I saw that you had updated after we did the extension proposal change. But I think there's still a few other lingering questions around that I need to update.
Yeah, the extension proposal, I think I marked one of my comments as resolved because the extension proposal no longer has the 3-tier. So my comment saying we've got the 3-tier on the extension side went away. Give you one less thing to worry about. I'm personally planning on leveraging some of the stuff we talked about last week with this schema definition of using the question mark and the pound sign for some own internal usage. So if folks are looking at that kind of path there, I put that over on the TOB as well. I should mention that in that pull request that I've got sitting out there. for the working group for a reference spec, which still is pending if we get more people that want to help run this thing. I feel like we're too thin and not enough affirmation voices in there to really push this one out there. We've made that mistake too many times in the past. But I've focused a lot more in the rewrite of this around using the upstream RFCs for the URI syntax. So linked over the URI syntax RFC, mention that, hey, we should try to reserve specific syntaxes and features in that spec for how we want to use it, and then how other people can leverage it. So gave a few examples of what I thought that could look like. All of this is a proposal to make a working group that would then solidify that and then make that into a spec at some point in the future, maybe. So
Is this reserving the OCI scheme?
it is not reserving it. It is saying that we could define that if we wanted to. It's more saying example future requirements could include things like a schema prefix, scheme prefix. It could include passing query parameters. It could include immutable tags or limited retention times like Jeff's been looking at. These are all things that could happen if we wanted to leverage more of the features of the URI syntax, but it's not saying we would do that in this part of the spec. It's just saying that whatever we do in the working group should leverage URI as best as possible with the eye toward the fact that we could go down these other paths in the future.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering from the perspective of like using URI with the scope of whatever you define here would be, say, specific to this scheme. So like if you're using this scheme, then you're kind of defining the area, like it's kind of like the namespace for what you're trying to define here.
Yeah. And I think similar to how Containerd has been looking at it, where you just kind of slap a scheme on there to make it parse in the thing, we might go down that path and saying this is how everybody's using it today, that there is no scheme. So you could add a scheme in the future potentially. And so we might say that be ready for people to do this in the future. But in the current as is, that's not necessarily part of the spec. That's not how people are using it in terms of the distribution reference project and a lot of other places this shows up.
Yeah, but I think the adding the dummy scheme that we do in order to parse it, I mean, but that's making an assumption about the format of the scheme itself. Whereas, I mean, if you're defining something here, I guess you could mention scheme generically, but you would only define the scheme under like OCI, like for anything that already exists. You wouldn't necessarily want to go and like define every possible scheme for like how to parse the references. Like if you're adding query parameters and all this stuff, or if you're trying to define that, I mean, you should define it under a specific namespace. So then us on the Containerd side, when we go to parse it, say, oh, if it already has a scheme, if it's the OCI one, then we're going to use the OCI, or we're going to take the result and put it through the OCI parser to get the information out. Otherwise, we'll just add our dummy scheme, or maybe we can create a Containerd one or something, or just use the OCI one. I don't know. Although, is there already an OCI one? I guess it's
People have
used by
used
somebody.
OCI. Yeah, people have used it. We have used it inconsistently, I suspect.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. How is it used today? Is it used as like a path to something?
So I think it is used by BuildKit for the OCI layout. In terms of how Scopio and those projects are using it, I couldn't say. It might be pointing to the registry.
Gotcha. But yeah, that's something to consider there.
Yep.
Just to say though, I I think it's a good idea to do that, to namespace it and define it. Just yeah, I wonder if that OCI one's already overloaded. To make matters worse, we hired a bunch of people from Oracle Cloud and they call their thing OCI, and I constantly hear that OCI thing. I'm like, wait, what do you? Oh, that means something completely different to another group of people.
And thanks, Brian, for the correction there. OCI layout is what BuildKit uses. So they use OCI layout. I use OCI dir in Reg client, and the various tools over there. And yeah, this is kind of the reason I would like to push for this, is that we're seeing a lot more of this with various edge cases, especially when you start talking about an OCI layout. You don't have a host name in there. So do you do a triple slash? Is that required? How do you do a relative path? Those all become interesting questions in the URI land.
How do you specify a tag or a digest when colon and at are totally valid inside file paths?
I just stopped making them valid inside of file paths.
Yeah, new line's valid in a file path.
Not in my world. Name your directory something sensible, and then you can use my tool.
You're just arguing for everyone to use NTFS.
Now you're just getting into crazy talk. Anything else folks want to chat about today? Like I say, pretty thin agenda.
Sorry, before we move on from the other one, what's your plan for moving that one forward?
I'd like to hear from maintainers that would say, especially on the TOB side, that yeah, this does make sense to be a standalone spec and that we should probably move this forward. I'd also like to see enough owners and stakeholders in here that I think we're going to have enough momentum moving forward. And to give a counterexample of that, we still have the auth working group that's kind of in this state of limbo right now that Jeff, myself, and probably a few others should really jump in there and do some more work over on that working group.
So is there a path to like putting this up to a vote?
I want to make sure this is something that Tina is not going to say you're making a mistake again.
I think we should wait till after the working group gets a result to say that. That's my approach, right?
Oh, he can say it before. I know he's thinking about it.
Didn't I already write it on the PR several
Pretty sure you
times?
did. Pretty
I'm
sure
pretty
you
sure
did.
I've commented on this PR several times expressing my distaste.
Yeah. Not universally held.
Like,
Very true.
I think the referrers working group was not a success. I think it successfully merged some changes, but I would not call the working group a success. There were many process breakdowns in that working group, which is part of what caused the end result to be something that pretty much everyone is disappointed with.
So the question there is there's the working group aspect, and there's like the new spec aspect of it. Having a new spec, I think, makes it easier, but doesn't guarantee anything. Like, I know we had the same discussion about the referrers working group of like, okay, which comes first, users or specification or adoption or whatever. is it better to just have a standalone spec and the result of that is like not, hey, the reference group came up with, or like this working group came up with something, like now every spec must adopt it, versus like this is almost just voting for a new spec. And like when that spec becomes 1.0 will be, I mean, when it's ready, that will be the output of it, not necessarily. It's kind of standalone from my perspective. Like it's the other.
My impression is this is standalone too. We've gone back and forth on this PR a whole bunch of times. So should it be an image spec? Should it be a distribution spec? Should it be standalone? And of all those, I feel like it should be standalone just because it doesn't quite fit in either of the other two.
One could argue, not very successfully, but could argue that there already is a reference spec and it already exists in the image spec. There's even an EBNF grammar for it. It's just not complete or good. In another piece of hotly contested spec lines,
Which one are you referring to?
annotations.
Oh, now you.
The infamous ref.name. Let's
I hate
argue
that
about
thing.
ref.name again.
I feel like this could become a pointer to another spec, and then we solve all our problems.
But look, we already have a spec.
I
It's
mean,
right here. It even has a grammar.
we put
It's not a good
too
grammar,
much
but it's a
weight
grammar.
on an annotation. I feel like you almost shot yourself in the foot by pointing it over here. It's like just doesn't have much of anything there. So anyway, I would be interested, Tianan, if some of my rewrite to, because I think I outdated a bunch of your stuff with some of my rewrite in there, to focus more on URI and just saying, look, we're not doing all this stuff now, but just keep an eye on it for the future. If any of that resolves some of your concerns, or if not, I understand.
I mean, should the pointer be the other direction though? Kind of like that that name is kind of a, I don't know if that's a subset or a superset of like what you'd expect to support. Like this is, yeah, I mean, I really hate this annotation, but uh like
I think it would be awesome if we added a new reference spec and then this became just a pointer that says, hey, this field here can be either a tag or a fully qualified reference over in the reference spec and just follow their guidance over there. And then this becomes just like a little 1 or 2 line pointer. I mean, look at this base name points over the distribution project. Why don't we have another eBPNF grammar over here?
is that ref name even consistently applied by clients? I don't, it's so open-ended that I don't even think it's consistently used.
Yeah, it had to
Some of
be
us,
open-ended because all the examples in the spec put just tag in ref.name. This is why I was laughing as I brought this up, is
Yeah.
because me and Brandon argue about this every other week, it feels like.
it depends on whether you treat an OCI layout as capturing something that's on a registry and being a transport or being the thing itself that you want to reference.
The ambiguity in this annotation is why Containerd made their own, right?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that we made our own because this is completely unreliable. I mean, if you were to add a new spec, I would almost add a new annotation for it, not try to have yet another possible value for this.
I wasn't going to add values. I was just going to delete all this and just say, pointer, go over here.
That's like great framing for why I'm nervous about a new reference spec at all. Like, we have a ton of tools that already use our existing style of references. And we have a few tools that use completely incompatible styles of what I might call new style references with a colon slash slash in them. And I don't think you're going to convince all those tools to have a breaking change to unify their syntax by creating a spec. And the number of tools that support what you might call Docker style references is massive.
No,
Wait,
I completely agree.
The long tail
I'm,
there is so long, it's going to be 10 to 20 years before we can consistently use these new style references everywhere. If
so
ever.
I don't have any disagreement at all with that. I think whatever we do needs to be very careful in saying when you see the string, start with what people are using a day. And if your tool expands on it, here is how you can expand on it. Not that,
Yeah. I
you know,
there's a possibility for some clever progressive fallback there, but it's going to be fragile in practice.
it's also going to be very much this reference is going to work with this tool. And
Yeah,
so you're going to make
exactly.
that the more we can make it though that a similar reference can work amongst multiple tools because they all follow the same way of extending it because we all ran into the same problems with extending it. I think we'll be getting into a better place.
I mean, I agree with that, but I kind of feel like we should just, that would be like a new annotation rather than trying to just parse this one differently. I mean, essentially, like we shouldn't be changing the grammar of any of the existing annotations.
But does this grammar fall within the grammar of the URI syntax? I mean, excluding the how you parse tag, is it a subset? That's what I'm looking for. My goal is to say whatever we have today is the subset of everything. And then here's how you can expand on that subset to make it a bigger set and a bigger set. If you want to add other features, but just realize those features are going to have fewer and fewer tools they're going to work with.
I don't think it's a subset looking at it, but I mean that's kind of a minor point. I mean, I think I'm okay with the general idea. I mean, I to Tianan's point, it's like it's such a mess today. Are we really making it better? Um, maybe I don't know, but
Yeah, there's an
the
XKCD
the
about this, right?
yeah, I think it's bad enough that just doing nothing is not the best solution either. So having something standalone, I just wouldn't go in and try to change, like redefine stuff that's already there and potentially already working. Like, yeah, it's going to be a third annotation probably from like a containerd perspective, but that's fine for a while until
But which problem does that solve? Now you
I
can have an
assume it would.
annotation in an OCI layout that points to a different OCI layout that's also on disk. What
Well,
does
I
it
was just
mean if you
saying.
see an annotation pointing to an OCI layout on disk in a registry?
Oh, I just mean that like having a unified or an annotation that actually isn't trying to ask every project to say, oh, if you want to use a uh, if you want to use an image exported by container D, like if you want it to actually be useful, like use the container D annotation. Rather, you could say, well, we also have this OCI reference annotation you can use, and that should be non-ambiguous and non-container D specific.
On the container D side, if you try to import content in an OCI layout that didn't come from a registry, how does it handle that?
It doesn't have the container D annotation.
Doesn't have a container D annotation, and the ref name just points to a tag and no registry or other.
We have the option where you can give it like a base name to add if it doesn't have that. Otherwise, yeah, it will add like a dummy tag to put it into container D, or it might not even add a tag at all. Just put it as a, I don't remember exactly, but if you wanted to essentially recreate the state that you had in container D before with the same tagging, you'd have to use the container D tags. Otherwise, the ref names are don't might not have enough information to create a full tag in container D.
And if
So
you're
yeah, we
using
do
the
have
API,
like,
you can do it however you want.
what do you mean?
I mean, like if you're doing the import from code, not from like the CTR command line tool, you can do the import however you want. However you want to parse that ref.name or the container D annotations or not parse them, you can implement it.
Yeah, and there's like the logic we added to the API to do this, like when we added the transfer service. Oh, I hate that. Like it's this makes it really complicated the way it is today because yeah, we have like you can add like a prefix to a name if the name doesn't have like if you have these like short names, yeah, it's not pretty. But yeah, it's up to using the API, you can tag it as whatever you want after.
But essentially, everything in container D has to be notated with a registry and a repository name.
No,
No, okay.
we just have to have it be something that we have to store it as something useful.
Can't just be a Shaw digest.
It can actually, but we tend to like to have something like even if it's just like import at Shaw Digest rather than just a naked Shaw Digest because but then you don't really know where it came from.
What if people didn't want to tell you where it came from? It's like it came from standard input.
Well, you don't have to create an image tag at all. And then, our garbage collector will deal with it.
I'm thinking of a scenario where telling containerd where the content came from could potentially leak data someone didn't want to leak and about their system, about their environment, how they're building images.
Oh yeah, and you can like in the API, you can tell it what name you want to use. You don't have to use you don't
Give
have
a
to
dummy
include the
name.
names. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So in terms of your original question, Derek, what needs to happen to make this go forward? Some kind of general agreement amongst multiple people that we're going in the right direction, I think would be a good thing. And I don't think we got that yet.
Yeah. That's a tricky part in OCI.
Hence, I left it in draft state. Like, this would be something that would be really great to do, but there are not a lot of people behind it that would be, particularly people would be active and want to actually drive this. I feel like there are a number of people in there saying, yeah, if you go ahead and lead, we'll follow. I don't think we have a lot of people that really want to jump up and say, look, I'll take ownership of this one and try to push it through all the groups and get all the consensus. That's just not there right now. All right. Anything else folks want to chat about? Otherwise, we're over 30 minutes. We've already lost a few people. Going once, going twice. All right. We'll give you folks back a little bit more free time here today. Dianon, good seeing or having you back here at the meeting. Hope you feel better. And we'll be back here, same bat time next week. Cheers all.